Tomlin here from TomlinHarmonicaLessons.com, and this week I am going to give you 10 tips for jamming. So I'm going to give you 10 really important things to think about when you go to your first jam session. But before I get started with that, why should you go to jam session? Well, the big thing is all of the practice that you do at home, all of the woodshedding, all of the scales, all of the playing with backing tracks, all of that is so that you can put it to use with other musicians and so that you can jam with other musicians. So that's a really important reason to go to a jam session. And also, I cannot emphasize this enough, but the stage is where all of the real learning takes place. You can get lessons every week from a great teacher, you can do loads and loads of practice, but when you're on stage, it really, really focuses your learning and it'll take your playing up many, many notches very, very quickly. So, our first tip for jamming is be prepared. So this seems like a silly one, but remember to take your own harmonicas. No one wants to lend you a harmonica. If you've been playing for a while, you'll know that harmonicas are very personal and it's kind of disgusting to play someone else's. So take your own harmonicas. You can also take a microphone if you have one. And if you have a microphone, then remember to take your own cable. What I would say is don't take an amplifier. There's nothing more annoying than someone rocking up either with an amplifier that's too small or an amplifier that's too big and taking ages to set it up when all they're going to do is play one song and play through it's just easier if you play through the equipment that's already on stage. Okay? So, first tip, be prepared. Second tip, and this is really, really important, don't be afraid to ask questions. Now, I'm sure you've got this image of a jam session as being this big, scary thing, and in a lot of ways it is. But the vast majority of people who are at the jam session want to make it fun for everyone else who is at the jam session. They're not trying to make you feel bad about yourself as a player, they want to be helpful. So you need to be comfortable asking questions. Ask what key we're playing in. If you didn't bring your own microphone, ask which microphone you should be using. Ask which amp you should plug into. Ask where you should stand on the stage, okay? There are very few asshole musicians out there. They do exist, but there are very few of them. And if anyone acts like that on stage, then other musicians are going to cut them down very, very quickly. So don't be afraid to ask questions. The next tip that I'm going to give you is make sure you know what key harmonica you need to play in second position. So if you're at a blues jam and the band leader says, okay, we're playing in the key of A, chances are you shouldn't go and grab your A harmonica, you should go and grab your D harmonica. That's because most of your blues playing is going to be in second position, which means that you need a D harmonica to play in the key of A. Now, if you don't know what any of this means, I have linked a little lesson in the description about positions. It's really important that you know what harmonica you need to play when the band plays in a specific key. So if you don't know what that means, then have a look in the description below for that lesson. So, tip number 4, learn the 12-bar blues chord structure. Now, I'm sure you've all heard a 12-bar blues, you will recognize one when you hear it, but do you know it inside out? If you don't know it inside out, you should, because this is the most common language at a blues jam session. If you've never played with anyone before, but they call a 12-bar blues, and you know how to play a 12-bar blues, you know what the chord changes are, it means that you can sit in and add something to the music. That's what it's all about. So learn your 12-bar blues chord progression, and then learn where the harmonica fits in that. So learn where the root notes are for those 3 chords. So you've got 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord. So you should know that your root notes can be played on the 2 draw, for the 1 chord, 4 blow, for the 4 chord, and 4 draw, for the 5 chord. Now, if you're not very comfortable with that, I've also linked a lesson below for you to check out about the 12-bar blues chord structure. Really, really important to know that one. And if you're getting up on stage for the first time, you can just play the root notes of the chord as a simple bass line. So you could do something like, the root notes of the chord for the 12-bar blues. Play a simple bass line, something like Okay? It's not going to blow anyone away, but it's also going to add to the music. So that's the most important thing. Just keeping it nice and simple, playing that 12-bar blues chord structure. Okay, next tip, tip number 5. Listen before you play. So what I see loads and loads of people doing is panicking as soon as the song starts and starting to play and fluffing the beginning. You don't need to. Take a bit of time to listen. If you're not sure what's going to happen, if you've never heard the song before, listen to what the beat is, what the tempo is, what the feel is. If there's anything weird going on, listen to the vocal line to hear if there are any spaces where you can interject a few notes here and there. But don't rush. Just take your time to get a feel. So that's really, really important. Listening before you play. Okay, next one. Tip number 6. Make eye contact. So there is a lot of communication that happens between musicians on stage. And if you do this when you start playing, and the singer is pointing at you to take a solo or saying, stop playing, you need to know these things. So you need to be looking around the stage and making eye contact and seeing what's going on. It's not like looking at your harmonica is going to make it any easier to play because, you know, it's the blind instrument. So remember to make eye contact with the other musicians, okay? So tip number 7, and I chatted a little bit about this before, is to start simply. Remember, jamming is not about you being awesome. It's not about me being awesome. It's about us making music and adding something to the music. Every element that a musician brings to it should add to it. It's not about any one person satisfying their ego needs, okay? So start simply. If this is your first time on stage and you're not very musically confident, make sure you're playing the right key harmonica and just play a 2-draw and add a couple of 2 draws every once in a while in between the vocal line. So you could have, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Come on there, little baby, don't you want to go? Back to that same old place, my sweet home, Chicago. So it might seem very, very simplistic, but at least you're going to play something that isn't going to jar. It's the right note for the music, it's the right key, and it's a nice place to start off from so that you can gradually branch out. Rather than thinking, there are all these different notes that I could play, just think about that one note, and then gradually, when you calm down a bit, because you're gonna have the adrenaline pumping, when you've calmed down a little bit, you might think, okay, I can start adding in the 3-draw half-step bend, and just gradually increase the complication of what you're playing. But start really simply. You don't have anything to prove. You're there to play some music and have some fun. Okay, tip number 8. Don't play over the other musicians. Okay, this is really, really important, and it goes back to this idea of you are there to add something. You're not there to prove that you're better than anyone, you're there to add something. So don't play over the other musicians. This is particularly important for soloists, such as the singer or anyone else who's taking a solo. There might be another harmonica player, there might be a guitarist, a keyboard player, a sax player, all sorts of instruments that will take solos. You shouldn't be playing a solo when someone else is playing a solo. And the band leader, who's usually the singer but not always, will kind of give you the nod so that you know when it's your turn to take a solo. So if you get this, that is the universal language for go, you can take a solo. But if you didn't get that, and the singer's singing, and you start doing and you're playing over the singer, you'll never be allowed back up on that stage. So just think about being considerate to the other players and not playing over them. Okay, next tip, tip number 9. Don't panic when it's your turn to take a solo. So when you do get that nod, don't go, oh no, my harmonica's the wrong way round, and rush into it. Take a little bit of time. And it doesn't matter if you wait 2, 3, 4 bars to start your solo. Remember, you're always listening, you're always fanning yourself and getting prepared for that moment, and take your time coming into that solo. And you don't need to throw in your flashiest lick to start the solo. Start it simply. As I said before, play that 2-draw. Just take your time and gradually build it up. Don't panic. You can take a whole 12 bars if you needed to, but just, there's absolutely no need to rush. I know that the adrenaline's pumping and you think, oh God, I need to start playing, but don't worry about it. People are there to make music with you. No one's in a rush to hear what you're going to do. Just take your time, be chill, and you will play a lot better. Okay, and tip number 10 is actually the same as tip number 5. Listen. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to be listening. So think about where you sit in the tune. Are you playing at a volume that means that you're too loud or too quiet? Are you playing over the singer? Are you playing over the soloist? Are you playing in time? Are you aware of where that pulse is? Spend more time listening than anything else. It's the most important thing. These are your 2 biggest and most important assets, so use them. And also, if you think that you don't have a great ear, that's totally fine and totally normal. I started out ages ago and my ears were awful. Very bad sense of rhythm, very bad sense of pitch, but I've practiced and I've gotten more and more comfortable with it. And there are still weaknesses there, but I'm able to do what I do. I have enough kind of ear power to be able to play music for a living. So anyone can do it. If I manage to do it, trust me, anyone can do it. Okay, so those are your 10 tips. Number 1, be prepared. Number 2, don't be afraid to ask questions. Number 3, make sure you know what key harmonica to play in second position. Number 4, learn the 12-bar blues chord structure. Number 5, listen before you play. Number 6, make eye contact. Number 7, start simply. Number 8, don't play over the other musicians. Number 9, don't panic when it's your turn to take a solo. Number 10, listen. I know, double listen, so important. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. And if you actually want some kind of more in-depth help with that, if you want help getting started with jamming, then I suggest you check out my Edinburgh Harmonica workshop, which will be running from the 22nd to the 24th of May 2020. And if it's after 2020 and you still want to do it, I'll be doing other workshops, so still click the link for that in the description below. But basically, I'm going to take you from having never played on stage before to getting comfortable playing on stage. I'll give you all the tools and we'll go deep. You'll get to play with my band, you'll get to play with loads of other harmonica players, and it'll be a friendly, supportive environment. So if you want to come to the capital of Scotland for a fun weekend of harmonica jamming, then check out the link in the description below. All right, before you run off to do that, thank you so much for watching this lesson. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up by hitting the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and then hit that little bell icon next to it. That's really important because that'll notify you when I upload a new lesson. And I upload new videos every week on Wednesdays, so look out for that. All right, take it easy and happy harping.